Okay, we're walking on the C&O Canal. You can see the river's back over there. You can't see it now. And there's what's left of the canal. It's empty now, except since we've had so much rain, there's a little bit of rainwater in the bottom of it. But I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off. And why am I pissed off? You know, there's this comedian who said that white males are the new NIG blank 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 blank. You know? He's right. He's absolutely right. In fact, he doesn't know how right he is. Because white males have taken a huge lump for many, many years. And in order to illustrate this, let's go back to what was happening in the 1920s with black people. I read this book, The Birth of Black Sociology or The Death of White Sociology. I forget which it was. But it was about, it's a book of compiled lectures from black sociologists about what happened when black people were down. And what did our country and our culture do to keep them down? Man, it's a hell of a read. And hold on to your hats, because there are things you simply don't expect, but you realize, oh my gosh, I mean, this stuff is unbelievable. We're coming up on a little clearing. Look at that. I think that's a cardinal. The Allegiere bird. Allegiere, a little butterfly. Canal's a great place. Anyway, so where were we? We were pointing the camera in the wrong direction. You know, there were three basic ways that our culture encouraged people to believe the idea that blacks were inferior to whites. And I lived during this time. I lived in the 1950s. I remember, you know, and there was this sort of assumption that there was something wrong with blacks. They were inferior in some way. And even though I came from a family, my father was involved in the civil rights movement, and my mother was too in some ways, but not like my dad. And we had meetings at my house with black people and white people and whatever. So, you know, I was even involved in that. I still had the sense inside there's something wrong with black people. There's something different. They're inferior in some way. And how did I get that idea? How did millions of people get that idea? So that over the water fountain, over the cooler, at work, at play, and whatever, you just make this assumption. It's just what you know to be the truth. How? Well, the first thing was the media. You know, the media publishes crap that makes blacks look stupid. Step and fetch it, you know. Made him look stupid as hell. He made a mint on it, I think, or Opie made some money. But, and Amos and Andy, you know, all kinds of shows that portrayed blacks as being dumb, not very smart, slow, needing help from others to make even a basic decision. You know, you can look back in YouTube, you can find some of these old shows, and you just scratch your head and go, God, they really portrayed them badly. But I want you to think about this. Okay, we know that's the truth, but it's also true that at about the same time that blacks stopped being portrayed, you started having people like Cosby and Will Smith and whoever. Once that started happening, guess what? Men started being the ones who were taken down. And male bashing became the sport of the media. Male bashing. Oh, goody, let's make fun of male. They can't make a decision on their own. They need their wives to do it. They're stupid. They're slow. They're the cause of all problems. And that's exactly the way blacks were portrayed. In fact, the underlying assumption for blacks was that they were the cause of social problems and therefore did not deserve anything being any kind of victim because they were the problem to begin with. There's a good quote about that, and I can't remember exactly what it was right now. But anyway, the same thing. Blacks were seen as the cause of social difficulties and therefore not worthy of getting any kind of remuneration or any kind of compassion. None. And that's exactly what we see with men today. You know, the media and the water cooler people, all of it. It's men are causing all of these social problems. They're causing these problems, and because of that, they don't deserve any compassion. They don't deserve to be helped by any of our helping agencies, you know? To heck with that. So can you see how there's this similarity between the two? Interesting, eh? And then you go to the research. You know, oh my gosh, the research in the 1920s was all about blacks' inferiority. And it was all about whites' superiority. And guess what they did? When they had research that showed that blacks were inferior, it got deep-sixed. It got thrown out so that no one would ever see it. So they basically filtered out the information about blacks being superior in any possible way, which maintained this public idea that there's something wrong with blacks. Blacks are inferior. In fact, it got worse. You know, blacks were not only inferior, blacks needed to be around whites in order to improve their standing. Blacks needed to be more like whites. If only they could spend more time with whites, that would rub off. And the blacks would start to become more like whites, more like civilized people, right? Oh my gosh, and the research was pushing these ideas, if you can believe it. I mean, literally, the research was doing this. It was saying that there was something wrong with blacks, and there was also a lot of research out there about mulattoes and blacks and whites, and about how the more white blood you had, the better off you were, etc., etc., etc. Unbelievable. And you can see now from the media and from the research that, oh my gosh, of course people thought that. And it just trickled down, you know? Oh, what do we got here? Let's see. If you can't beat them, join them. There he goes. Oh, yeah. That's a long train. Go on now. We're busy. Anybody counting the cars? Oh, here comes the mosquito den. There's a bunch of mosquitoes up here, so if I jerk around trying to block those daggone things, let me know. But so the research was pushing this idea that blacks were inferior. Just pushing it, literally. Now I want you to think about the connection between the research pushing blacks' inferiority and what we see in today's research with men. You know, the whole thing of toxic masculinity. These men are terrible, you know, blah, blah, blah. Men are violent, men are oppressing women. All of this crap that's research driven. I mean, these researchers are pushing this stuff. And you look at the domestic violence research, what does it say? It says men are the problem. You know, at least half of it says that. The other half is actually starting to be a little bit more truthful. But a number of research venues or sections will look at men as being the problem. So this leaves our boys and girls and young people with the idea that men are similar to the way blacks were in the 1920s. Now, I'm not saying in any way that, you know, this is the same thing. All I am saying is that the mechanism is the same. And the mechanism we saw used on blacks is now being used on men. And that's crazy, folks. It's just crazy. And it is convincing everyone that there's something wrong with men. And of course, we all know that men are good. Men are good, as are you. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, and tell me what you think of these walking videos. Tell me if you like them or don't like them, and hopefully you like them, and we'll keep going. Maybe we'll go down to DC, maybe we'll go over to Sugarloaf Mountain or to Appalachian Trail or something like that, and we'll see where we go. So you all take care. We'll see you. If you're interested in this topic, both Paul Elam and myself have written articles on this, and I'll leave links to both articles in the low bar. You may be able to find the link to mine in the upper right-hand corner. Men are good.